Akainu and Kaido, two of the most powerful characters in One Piece, and both coming from opposite ends of the spectrum. So what would happen if they were in the world of One Punch Man? Well, we're going to be talking about that in this video, and this one was made possible by my awesome patron Forerunners. Thank you so much for your support and your request. And in order to talk about these characters, I'm going to have to go into spoilers for the One Piece manga, so if you don't want to know what's going to happen, I suggest you check out now. Let's start with Akainu. So, as we know, he's the current fleet admiral for the Marines, meaning he's a good guy, or at least he believes he is. So naturally, him coming into the One Punch Man world means that he would be a hero, and he's most definitely going to be in the S class. I feel that Akainu would treat being a hero just as serious as he treats being a Marine. But instead of hating and wanting to wipe out all of the pirates, his targets would instead be monsters and criminals, but more so monsters since they are the top threat. I also think he would be just as involved in the Hero Association itself, maybe even trying to get somewhat of an executive position. Now, coincidentally, these traits are lining up with My Mask, who also believes in absolute justice and has near psychotic morals just like Akainu does, and has a position within the Hero Association himself, being a part of the Hero Rank Evaluation team. But My Mask also has other career focuses besides just being a hero, as where I feel Akainu would most certainly only focus being a hero, and his overall role in the Hero Association. It's very possible that Akainu would probably work his way into being an executive, or at the very least obtaining a similar position to that of the Bearded Worker. So that being said, his position in the association could influence his ranking, aside from just his abilities. So let's get into his abilities. As we know, Akainu had ate the Magu Magu no Mi Logia fruit, and has the ability to become and manipulate magma. Regardless of what series you're a part of, this is an insane ability, and would certainly be just as devastating in One Punch Man as it is in One Piece. Now, characters certainly seem to, on average, have a higher level of durability in One Punch Man than they do in One Piece, so powerful monsters being able to survive magma isn't too much of a stretch, but would still be very effective. Akainu is also intangible, meaning that if he were to be hit or cut, he would just become magma, and this is very significant in One Punch Man, considering that a character we've seen before with a similar ability in Melzergard gave multiple S-Class heroes a very difficult time before they figured out his weakness. There are also parallels to be drawn to the Tiger-level monster Sludge Jellyfish, as we've seen that his intangibility in liquid form gave Garo and even Child Emperor issues. And weakness is something that probably won't come to light for Akainu, as in order to actually touch him, you would need Haki, and while this is unfair, considering this isn't a part of the power dynamic of One Punch Man, and the characters aren't even aware of it, we'll just have to go with it, I guess, because, why not? His other weakness, being water, is most viable option here, but it's unlikely that anyone would figure this out. I mean, probably not. In order to defeat Akainu, you'd essentially need a character like Orochi or Boros to just vaporize him with an energy blast or something. And I'm sure there are heroes that could take him out too, like Metal Knight, Child Emperor, Tatsumaki, or Blast, or whoever, but he likely isn't going to fight them, considering that he's a hero in this world, so I mainly just want to focus on monsters. But then, of course, I have to mention Saitama, of course, who could just blow him away with the force of his punch, and most likely vaporize him with a serious punch if need be. But even without his intangibility, Akainu has some serious durability. I mean, he did survive getting multiple Quake Striked by Whitebeard after all. So let's get into what his S-Class rank would be. So his monster suppression would be very high, given his stance on absolute justice and likely extreme hate for monsters. His combat abilities are very high as well, given his Magma Fruit and Haki abilities, and the likelihood of him gaining a position within the Hero Association. I feel like Akainu would be within the top 5. I don't think he's quite taking 1 or 2. Those spots seem to be locked for Tatsumaki and Blast, and I don't think he's surpassing them in the strength department. But he could possibly take 3 or 4 from Banger Atomic Samurai, as he'd probably be more involved in the association than they are. I estimate his disaster level to be Dragon, for sure. Probably a mid or high Dragon. He doesn't really have the speed or physicality to be any higher in my opinion, but his fruit and Haki abilities, along with his durability, are enough to put him in that tier in my opinion. Now let's get into Kaido. So he's actually very similar to Giro Giro. So I feel that if he were to be in the One Punch Man world, he'd essentially do the same thing as her, which is of course to gain a huge following of the strongest people as possible, as well as supplying them with means of powering up. Whereas in One Piece, Kaido uses the Smile Fruits, and in One Punch Man, Gero uses Monster Cells. So I don't think Kaido could get Monster Cells, probably, considering they come from Orochi, but it's possible he could forcibly recruit someone like Dr. Genus, similar to how he had Caesar through Doflamingo. And with Genus, he could genetically modify his subordinates into becoming monsters, possibly. And speaking of monsters, Kaido's power dynamic fits right into One Punch Man. So as we know, he could transform into a gigantic dragon, and it's likely that he ate the mythical dragon Zoan fruit, although it hasn't been confirmed yet. So his dragon form would definitely be classified as a monster in this world. And he still has the ability to go back and forth between human and dragon, which is similar to what we've seen from other characters like Hellfire and Gale. So he would have this added rare element to him as well. As for his disaster level, well, it's kind of difficult to say what it would definitively be, considering we don't know enough about him yet. We have yet to see him at his full power, or in legitimate danger, or even legitimately pushed at all. But for now, he's clearly disaster level dragon. I mean, come on. Just in his human form, he's strong enough to one-shot Gear Force Luffy, and in his dragon form, he has some serious firepower, like literally, which he could probably level a city with, or at least near the size of a city. Like Akainu, he could be anywhere from mid to a high dragon, but the full extent of his durability is unknown. So, he was unable to be executed by the Marines multiple times. It said that all the weapons used to kill him broke, and he also easily survived falling from a sky island onto the ground, which is pretty impressive. And his encounter with Luffy, he didn't need to block, but rather just ate a massive onslaught from him face first. However, he wasn't able to completely stand still and was moved around and kind of showed a reaction to this. Now, maybe I'm looking too much into it, and of course, he was drunk and definitely wasn't trying, but still, he wasn't standing still, similar to how Darkshine was. And I mainly wanted to compare him to Darkshine in this regard, considering that Darkshine has some of the highest and most impressive durability in One Punch Man. I mean, he's pretty much like the gold standard when we're comparing somebody in that regard. But he wasn't really able to replicate Darkshine's feat against Transformed Bug God. Whether that's fair or not, it's just not easy to gauge Kaido's durability in this world, at least to me and at least for now. But given that he is held in such extremely high regard in the world of One Piece, like he's essentially the most durable character as far as we know, so that means something for sure. And coming over to One Punch Man, he would probably be in a high tier of durability, but I just can't definitively say that he's quite on the level of Darkshine because it just doesn't seem like he has shown any feats like that yet. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I'm just saying it's difficult to say. So that being said, I don't think he'd be able to take a casual punch from Saitama. I mean, according to the VGS, the Virtual Genocide Simulation, not even Darkshine could take a single punch from Saitama. So unless Kaido has like an outrageous feat of durability in the future of One Piece, that definitely proves he's on the level of someone like released Boros, I guess, I feel as though he'd still get one-shotted by Saitama and likely be regulated to disaster level dragon and not above. So could he take a punch the way that Rover did? Well, it's kind of implied that Saitama held back against Rover as he saw him as like a dog. Maybe he didn't want to obliterate him, even though he easily could have if he wanted to. So maybe Kaido, fully tensed, using, his full haki, his armament haki, which he did use against Luffy, maybe then he could possibly take a punch from Saitama, like a mildly restrained one, similar to what he did against Rover. I could see Kaido possibly taking that. I mean, just based off of the hype around him and, the possibility of him using haki. That could happen, but in an actual fight where Saitama clearly sees him as a monster, given that he'd see his dragon form, I don't think Kaido is going to take a punch the way that Boros did. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank 4Runners for your awesome support. Thank you so much, 4Runners, and I hope this video was good enough. Maybe it was a little sketchy, but I really did legitimately try to analyze this the best and come up with the best possible answer I could. You know, maybe when we see more from both Akainu and Kaido, I can come back and make an updated version to this and give a better, clearer answer. But let me know what you think about it in the comments. Let's not try to start a war in there, because I know these types of questions and videos always lead to that, but let's just try to keep it civilized as best as we can. But if you liked it, in the rare chance that you did, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon where you can also request videos like Forerunners did if you simply sign up for that tier. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.